That's your job.
We're clapping. All right.
We're ready.
Welcome back. We are back in the kitchen.
The kitchen.
So this must mean something is serious.
Does this mean you're getting traded to the chefs?
Who are they? Kansas City chefs? No, Tennessee chefs.
Nashville, yeah, Nashville.
All right, so we have some, not breaking news, but some news that we thought we'd like to kind of announce and kind of get out there and explain what's going on in the world of pickleball.
Yeah.
Jimmy, give us the breakdown.
Yeah, so we want to do a couple little short videos just because there's a lot of things that are coming out that maybe these could just, we'll still talk about them on the pod, but maybe these little videos will just be focused on one topic.
Yeah, we can really go in depth on that.
Yeah. So the first thing we want to talk about is this new UPA pay structure.
So real quick, back up. So when we had tour awards with PPA and MLP, PPA and MLP signed a lot of the players to 3-year deals. There were a couple that were 2 years, but for the vast majority of players, it was a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
And on the PPA side, what it did is it guaranteed these players a certain amount of money, a minimum amount of money, to compete and participate in all these tournaments, events, and everything like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the best analogy I think that I can use for those of you that weren't present during Tour Wars, because I'm sure there are new fans out there, because Tour Wars was almost 3 years ago now.
Wow, you're aging me.
But new fans is basically what happened was mom and dad got a divorce.
Okay.
And mom said,
do they have names?
Yeah, mom's PPA and dad's MLP.
Okay.
And mom said, come live with me and I'll buy you a new bike. And dad said, come live with me and I'll buy you a bike and get you a skateboard. And then mom said, well, I'll get you a bike, a skateboard, and a car. And dad said, I'll get you a bike, a skateboard, a car, and you can live in the casita in the back and your boyfriend can sleep over. Mm-hmm. And so they went back and forth, and the players essentially were like, oh yeah. Like, what player's going to say no?
Yeah.
And so they ended up signing them to, there was just a massive increase in salary at that time. And I don't want to use words like inflated, and I don't want to say they're overpaid, because that's what the market dictated. You're fighting for the players, and you wanted them, you had to pay a certain amount of money. So what happened was then all of a sudden, everybody signs their contracts, and then mom and dad are like, you know what? Actually, we still love each other. Mm-hmm. And they decide to get back together.
Okay.
So now mom and dad go to the kids. So they went to the players right after the merger. And they were like, hey.
Actually, right before.
Right before.
Yep.
And they said, we actually need you guys. In order for dad to move back in, we actually need you guys to take a pay cut. 30%, up to 30%.
And 15 to even 40%.
Yeah, yes. And they were like, otherwise, dad can't afford to move back in. Because he can't keep buying your skateboard and your house and your car and all these things. So you guys have to take a little cut. The kids got to. And so the players, the majority of them, said, okay. We had a few that said no. Julian and Lauren declined. Vivian Glausman declined.
Okay.
Judith Castillo declined.
Riley Newman
declined for a while, and then they came to an agreement. Remember, at the end of the year, he started playing PPAs again?
I heard he never did, but I don't know.
So maybe but a few players declined. And they said, we don't give a shit about dad.
Yeah.
Dad can go live with his girlfriend still. We're good. So now we fast forward, and we're 2 years into this, or a year and a half into this, middle of 2025. These contracts are up in 18 months, and UPA now, which is MLP and PPA combined, are coming back to the players again.
Yep.
Back to the kids. And they're saying, hey, so in order for this to be sustainable, we've got to make some changes to the pay structure. These guaranteed contracts have caused some issues. One of those issues is, what are you guys playing for? Are you playing for, what's the motivation, right? We can't create a storyline when there's no motivation.
It's been tricky too, because some of the players that got locked into the contracts at the time, they were top players. And then as time went on, they've kind of not had as much success. And then there's other players that signed early on, and their contracts were very small compared to other players, and now they're at the top of the game. However, due to their current contracts, they're not able to make as much as these top players should.
Exactly. And so basically the way the structure works is that UPA is proposing is you take the last year of your contract. So we're going to just use a whole number, $300,000. Okay. So if a player is making $300,000, they will divide that $300,000 over 2026, 2027, and 2028.
Yep.
So that number, the 100,000, which is 300 divided by 3, for those of you
Big
math
math.
whizzes at home, is your guaranteed amount of money in
Per
each
month.
one of those years.
Or
Per year. Per year. So you're guaranteed. So you're not losing, in their minds, you're not losing any money.
Yeah.
You are guaranteed. So if money in 26, 27, 28. Now what they're doing is they're going to take the remainder of everybody's contracts and they're going to put them in a huge pool.
Well, they're attempting to.
They're attempting. Yes, this is their plan. This is what they're proposing. And they're going to put them in a massive pool and they're going to go back to a prize money model. And what the prize money model is going to consist of is obviously slams are going to be worth significantly more.
Just significant amount.
Yeah, I believe
higher.
the number I was told was 26 to 30 million in prize money. The other thing that they're going to do, that they're proposing, is that you will receive an appearance fee. Now, that appearance fee is going to be based off of your ranking.
Yes.
So if you're number one in the world, it's 10,000. I saw that number. All the way down to basically if you're outside of the top 20.
I thought it was 20.
I don't know. Anyways, I thought it was 10, but maybe.
I'm pretty sure it's 20.
Okay, so 20 an event.
Per event. Per tournament.
Per tournament.
Yeah.
So if you're number one in the world,
You're guaranteed.
you play 20 events, which most of them, that is $400,000 in appearance fees. So.
But they refresh these stats every 6 months. So
Is that what it is?
every 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe.
And then if you're 20th or below, it's around $1,000 is all you're going to receive in appearance fees. And basically what it is, they are saying that you have an opportunity to earn your money now. Yep. Now, the whole premise of this, from what I was told, is that this is how they're going to pitch the stories and the storylines and things like that to TV execs. Because the big feedback that they got when they went to Fox and ESPN and all these things is, what are these guys playing for? If it's guaranteed money and there's not really like a, end of the year, World Series or a Super Bowl or NBA Finals. I mean, there is the finals, but they haven't created that urgency or hoopla around it, I guess I should say.
Yep.
So they've asked, what are you guys playing for? And these guys are like, you got to go back to prize money model. Because now we can say Ben Johns or Annalie Waters or Tyler Loong, they're playing for, $40,000. If you win this match is worth $40,000.
Yeah.
They also think that it will change some of the, motivation of a lot of players, because they feel like there are players out there who have essentially cashed it in.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, I don't think that I understand where the PPA is coming from on this. Like, I get it. And the only way that the league survives and is sustainable long-term, sponsors are nice, but you've got to have that TV deal. We just saw that Unrivaled, the women's 3-on-3 tournament, they made $27 million last year. UPA lost $40 million per our girl, Jilly B. So give or take on that money.
Yeah.
But they made $27 million in their first year. Do you know why?
TV deal.
TV deal with TNT. They have a TV deal. So the TV deal is where it's at. So that is what they're trying to position themselves for. Now, on the flip side, from a player's perspective, this is just me talking. This isn't Tyler. This isn't any. This is just my thoughts if I were better than a 2-5. Okay? Number one, you're going to start playing for prize money, but only Championship Court has replays, and the replays aren't great. So Ben and Annalie, who always play on Championship Court, will always have the best replays. Me, Joe Schmo over here, has to play on these side courts in a match that's worth just as much money to me as it is to them. And I'm going to not have any sort of replay. I'm not going to have 2 referees. Spacing, all of those things. That's one. That has to become uniform across the board. Not saying that everybody has to play on Championship Court. There's only one. But you got to have replay, the same exact technology, referee spacing on every court.
Fair.
I think that's fair. Number 2, you got to get rid of the rollout courts.
Okay.
I think that you've got to come up with more of a permanent solution. It changes the game. It's different. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
Number 3, seating is going to be massive. And right now, the seeding is all over the place. I mean, we saw Mari and CJ Klinger were a 31 seed. Sometimes, you see a 3 seed play a 1 seed on the same side of the bracket. And I understand that they have this whole thing where 3 and 4 are interchangeable and 5 through 9 are interchangeable and this and that. But if I earn my seeding, I want to have my exact seed that I earned.
Yep.
You got to quit switching it around, because now seeding is going to matter more than ever.
Okay.
And if you're earning that seeding, then you deserve that seed. And the seeding needs to be 100% transparent, because it's my money on the line.
Yeah.
A quarterfinals finish is worth a hell of a lot more than a round of 16.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Third thing is the points, or the fourth thing, whatever number I'm on, point system. So if the appearance fees are based off of the point system, the PPA points, you've got to be transparent on that. You've got to be very transparent.
Not only that, but it is a little bit interesting, because right now for your appearance fee, they're combining singles, doubles, and mixed doubles. What happens to the players that either don't even do singles, or they're only focusing on one? Even
I actually talked to a player, and they were told that this player does not play singles. They're not a singles player. They never have been, never will be.
Yeah.
Right? And they were told that they need to start playing singles. And it's the most asinine thing in the world, because they're just not a singles player.
Yeah.
And do players that play all three have more value? Maybe.
We talked about that last time. We don't think so, actually.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's very little.
Yeah.
But I mean, if that really is worth all that value, then why isn't Zane Ford? You're saying Zane Ford's worth more than Matt Wright?
Yeah.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the way that if they're gonna, so they've got to figure that out. The other thing that I really have an issue with is you got to stop. You have to build this trust back. Okay. They had to go through the players had to go through the Tour Wars nonsense. Right. And yes, they got paid, but none of them, very few of them got paid what they said they were going to get paid. Right. It's not their fault that, MLP and PPA had a big old pissing contest.
Yeah.
Right place, right time. I don't think that should be held over the players. Okay. But now I'm hearing things like some of the people are saying, if you don't agree to this, we'll put you on the side courts. If you don't agree to this, we won't promote you.
You're going to get us canceled.
I'm just saying, those things, the strong arming.
No, I fully agree. I was talking to
It's got to go.
I was talking to this MLP player, and I believe they're at the very lower end. They're probably not making it out of round of 32, maybe even 64. And they took a 50% pay cut to begin with.
Yeah.
And now they're going to be asked to take another, 30, 40, 50%?
Yeah. So the way the numbers work out is if you were say you're a $300,000 player, you make that $100,000. If you made the quarterfinals, okay, of every single event, you end up making around the $225,000 to $250,000. If you make and that
is that total or just prize money?
That quarter, that's total. And you're ranked number 10th.
Yeah,
10 to I think it was 10 to 12.
And I don't think people realize.
The model
maybe they do, but ranked number 10 is impressive.
Yeah.
Getting to the quarterfinals, getting to the round of 16 is tough.
So every quarters, So I think that was the model that I was shown. It was between 10 and 12 quarters. And I can't remember, but that also included a prize money finish in MLP. Not first, but somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So then that gives you in that 250-ish range. Something which is that's good money. I'm not saying that the money is not great by any means. I'm not saying it's not the amount of money they're offering, right? It's just that you're asking them to change things again, but you're doing it in a way I've heard from half a dozen players, if not more, that they're I don't want to use the word threats, because they're not threats. They're veiled references, essentially saying, hey, if you don't do this, then we're not going to promote you, or we're not going to do this. And it's you're not promoting me anyways. You're promoting Annalie and Ben.
Yeah.
Right? So my thing is if you want the players to do this, talk to them, acknowledge some of their concerns. These aren't hard things. Right? And I think that the players, the other thing is these players are smart. The majority of them, there's some dipshits out there, but the majority of them are very smart, and they understand that we need a league to function. And they understand the economics behind how much we need a TV deal and all the things. And I don't feel like these players will, like they're understanding of this, but you also have to build their trust.
Yeah.
Like, for example, put in their contracts that you're guaranteeing this amount of prize money. Because the one thing I heard from literally a dozen players was, well, they're going to do 26 million the first year and then it's going to drop to 10 the second year.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so that's just kind of where I'm at on it. But I agree that for the long-term sustainability of the league, it's probably necessary.
Sure.
And a TV deal is the end-all be-all. And I actually think that this structure is not a terrible structure.
No, I mean, there's a lot of thoughts going through my head, but if they totally 100% reformed the pay structure, then I'd be fine with that. I think even now with this reformation, it's still very top heavy. It is very, very, very top heavy.
It is.
So basically you're saying, you're going back to where it was before the Tour Wars, is there's 4 to 8 players who are raking in millions of dollars, and then everybody else is left fighting literally to make it to the next tournament. The reason why these contracts were so appealing to most of these players is they're guaranteed a certain amount. They were able to plan. They're able to get hotels, flights, cars, everything like that, and say, hey, I'm able to make this amount of money. This allows me to really put in the time to train, put in the time to work.
Yeah. But I think the argument, playing devil's advocate, is there is that minimum guarantee in there.
There is, but if that gets cut significantly, I mean, that's hardly anything.
That's why I'm saying that.
And if you're not getting paid really until the round of 16, I mean, a lot of these players that make PPA, make pickleball entertaining, they're not going to be able to sustain it.
Yeah, for sure. And so there's
then
a lot
you go
of
back to square one where you have the same 4 to 5 teams competing in every single quarterfinal, every single semi.
Yeah.
And how fun was that? Most people didn't like it.
Yeah, and look, I don't think this is something that they're going to be able to work out in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is. I think this is something that's going to take a few months. I think I assume that they're not trying to rush this, and this is just the start of the conversations.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we all want pickleball to last, pro pickleball. And I don't disagree that this is a way for that to happen. And if the TV execs are telling you that this is what you need to do, then this is probably what you need to do.
We were talking a little bit, I mean, pickleball is unique. It's a unique sport. It's different. But if you go to NBA, NFL, these other sports, most of them have guaranteed contracts of some sort. Now, tennis, I don't think they do have guaranteed contracts. However, it's significantly different at the Grand Slams. If you make it one round, out of the first round, you're winning $40,000 to $60,000 in one round.
Yeah, you don't have to guarantee money. Guaranteed money is not as important when their amounts are that high.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like when you make a quarterfinal at a Grand Slam, it sustains you for the year.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree. Now the other thing is there are players out there who are going to jump all over this, and there are players that are going to love this. If you're Hayden Pachequin, who 18 months ago probably signed on one of the lower end deals, and now all of a sudden, if he does the math, he's probably his $150,000 contract. That's just a guess. Is probably a $400,000 or $500,000 contract now.
Yeah.
Fed. His contract's got to be through the roof.
Similar, yep.
Yeah, I mean those guys like that, Gabe Tardio, but guys like that, you feel like would probably be all over this.
Yeah.
Because they're locked in for 3 years, and that's all well and good, but their value has drastically increased.
Yeah.
On the other side of it, if you're Matt Wright, if you're Julian Arnold, if you're Riley Newman, there's a bunch of players out there. You would think that they would kick back on this. But here's my next question. Okay, before we wrap this up. Julian and Lauren. There's other players out there, but I'm just going to cite them because they're probably the most well-known.
Keep talking.
They didn't take a pay cut, right? They chose not to take their 30% cut that everybody else took. They opted out of MLP. They're sure as hell not going to take this cut, right? They're still on tour every week. They're still playing every week. They're still doing all these things. What was the punishment, so to speak, for them not taking the pay cut? And what I mean by that is, and I'm not saying, like I just said, you can't be punishing players for refusing. But my point is you have all of these other players. You have these, 100 other players that you signed, and they all were good soldiers, and they all took this pay cut for the league. And then you have these two over here, and there's more than them. There's 6 or 7 of them that said no, and you're still seeing those guys play next to you every single week. right? And there was really nothing that can be done about it. There's no like repercussions. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And I feel like as a player, I'd be very, very bitter about that.
Yeah, there's a couple friends that I'm have on the PPA tour, and they were very frustrated with some of those players. It almost seemed like they were welcomed back with open arms, and it doesn't seem like anything had really changed.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's an interesting situation. Kind of stay tuned, and we'll update everybody as it kind of progresses and see what.
Like I said, this has kind of been going on for a couple weeks, and I feel like there hasn't been anyone who's really addressed this directly. And so I'm sure more and more as time gets closer to the end of the year, which we're only in April, but you'll hear a lot more about this.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm curious to see how the players react. I'm curious to see if the players, do they come together and say, hey, we want a league long term, because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. But can you guys do this, this, and this for us?
Yeah.
Right. So again, it's definitely interesting. And like I said, I do think, like, just to wrap this up, I do think that PPA is trying to come up with the most fair solution. I mean, they're, at least right now, they are offering a $26 million prize money.
Sure.
I mean, just so you know, APP, I believe, was $2.7 million for the whole season.
Yeah.
So, that's insane. And the other thing is there's not really an alternative option right now. There is APP. So if you're like a 20 to 35 player, APP might be better because you go make six figures on APP. But for most players, this is kind of the best option, the only option. Now we have PWR folded. There's not many alternatives out there, so hopefully there's
money balls, man. You're going to see a lot of money balls.
Yeah, you are.
Okay. Cool. All right. Thanks for tuning in. If you guys have any other questions or would like us to answer or talk about something, let us know in the comments below. See you guys.